Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Only Land Fan Show. My name is Kendall Lejeune, and our guest today is Darlene Root. Darlene began her career in real estate at the young age of 19. Over the years, she has honed an incredible ability to spot lucrative investment opportunities and an understanding of market trends, which has earned her a respected reputation in the industry. But Darlene's journey has not been without its challenges. After facing a significant financial setback, she embarked on a profound journey of self discovery and transformation. Her investigation into the workings of the mind and nervous system led her to develop the Real Mindset Method, a groundbreaking approach that has helped countless professionals use a three-step process to unlock the part of their brain to break through barriers and create their wealth identity so that they can achieve remarkable success and financial independence. Darlene, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I am fabulous, Kendall. I have been looking forward to this all day. So grateful that you invited me to empower and inspire your fans and your students. So great to be here.
Oh my gosh, it is just an honor to have you here. This is one of my favorite topics. Today, you're here to discuss how to unlock your brain to achieve financial independence and the neuroscience of building wealth. So, before we get started, before we jump right in, tell us a little bit about your background in the real estate industry.
Yeah. So as you said, I started when I was 19, but I'm going to unpack that even further. I was 19, a female in 1979, getting into the real estate industry. And so back in the Stone Ages, in 1979, women were not in the industry, let alone a 19-year-old kid. And when I was 19, I was still living at home. I had the audacity to get into real estate. I didn't do it by design. I did it by default. My sister, bless her heart, dragged me kicking and screaming because I wanted nothing to do with working. I wanted to live free, right? I wanted to be a musician. And we talked about that. I'm a musician at heart and did enjoy a musical career along with real estate investing. So I got the best of both worlds. But so when I started, we were going into the second recession of that decade. So we had our first recession was in 1975. And then on the heels of that was the one that I was entering. I had no idea what a recession was, young and dumb. I had clue none. And I just thought we lived in houses. I didn't know we had to pay for them. I was still living with mom and dad. And as we got into the early 1980s, that's when interest rates went to a recorded 15.8%. And I had seen them as high as 15.5. And we started doing creative investing and we cut our teeth on that. And I'm so grateful for that time because I was naive, which was good news, bad news, when I started getting into real estate investing and everything, the economy was a bit bizarre. I was able to navigate all of those upturns and downturns and possibly coming to a country near you. So now is the perfect time to learn how to use neuroscience and the brain and the nervous system to be able to govern yourself for the journey that we could be facing ahead. As you've stated, I had the fortunate circumstance of losing a huge amount of money. I did not look at it as a benefit at the time. But as I started to do this work with a couple of mentors, I now look at it with love and gratitude because had I not lost that money, had I not been betrayed, I would not be doing what I am doing right now. And that is empowering and inspiring others to step into their wealth identity and create strategic income for themselves.
Wow, that is remarkable. Now, if someone's listening to this and they're saying, listen, Darlene, it sounds great. I'm just trying to figure out how to maximize my business and which levers do I pull and tracking my KPIs and my metrics and all this other stuff. So this neuroscience thing sounds maybe a little woo-woo. What would you say to those people that are trying to put the pieces together?
Yeah, good. Woo-woo, because it's real. That brain and that nervous system are very real, and it's driving the bus. And so a lot of times we get into businesses, entrepreneurship. Number one reason is we resent work. So we don't like our boss or we don't like what we're doing. We got thrown into it. It's not inspiring us. We have to be motivated. By the way, if you have to be motivated from the outside, you're not living in your highest value. You're not doing what you're inspired. Motivation comes from the outside. Inspired comes from the inside out. So if somebody's having to motivate you and keep you accountable, accountability groups are only there because you're not intrinsically inspired to do what your highest values are. We're going to talk a lot about staying in your highest values and the 3.5 step. I have a 3.5 step program. One didn't get a whole step mention. It just gets a half a step. So when you resent, you resist. And that's when people go, I'm going to get into real estate investing because look, everyone on social media is making $1 million or more. And they're all happy and they're driving boats and they have this big house on the hill and a trophy spouse, significant other. And guys, turn off social media and do what I did 6 years ago. Unplug your TVs. Nothing good can come from that. Stay out of the news because you're getting all of that download of things that you don't need. It's not edifying you, it's tearing you down.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So much to unpack there. So you mentioned that you had now the experience that you're very fortunate for getting you into this work of figuring out how the brain is connected to success. Can you talk a little bit about what were some of those significant challenges that you faced and how did that sort of pave the way for you to start doing the work that you're doing now?
Yeah. So losing that money on that significant amount of money on that particular deal wasn't the first time that I had lost money. Look, you're doing a lot of deals, you're going to lose a lot of money. My very first mentor said, if you're closing all your deals, you're not writing enough. If you're making money on all your deals, you're not writing enough. You're going to lose. We get into this with the fantasy, like I did on that investment and on most investments. I was using the fantasy part of my brain to get into the investment. When you use that fantasy part of the brain, I'm going to break down 3 parts of the brain real quick. So when you're getting into investing in the fantasy part of the brain, that is the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, the hippocampus, which I call the happy camper part of the brain. That way you can remember it. When you're looking at everything with all benefits and no drawbacks, you are blind to the downsides, and what you don't see is keeping you trapped. So really be clear that if you only see the upside, whether it's investing in land or doing anything, getting into a relationship, following a fad diet, I only see upsides. I'm going to eat these Twinkies, the Twinkie diet, and then I'm going to build big muscles like Kendall. It's not going to happen. You may get some burst of energy that'll get you through a workout, but you're not seeing the downsides of the Twinkie diet. No, there's really not a Twinkie diet. Don't Google it. So when I saw only the upsides, my greed factor, the greed machine kicked in. I saw only benefits, no drawbacks. There were huge blind spots that I did not see. Too much, too little, too late. Found out that the money had been misappropriated and that he wasn't exactly the developer that he proclaimed to be. Don't follow an online resume, guys. You can doctor those things up all day long. He had no experience in resort development at all, and he just basically fabricated the whole thing. Now, he was a builder at one time. He had his builder's license revoked, but we didn't dive deep. The best time to do your due diligence is not after the fact, it's before the fact. So if you see all upsides, no downsides, I did that on pretty much all of the investments. We call that sabotage. Sabotage is a gift. Limiting beliefs are a gift. I know you guys are like, she's a freak show. Those are telling you that, so let's unpack limiting beliefs first. Limiting beliefs, if you identify it as a limiting belief, you now understand that having that belief that you believe is limiting won't get you to where you need to go. So you're aware, that's a gift. Now I'm aware that this limiting belief, whatever it is, now what you're going to do is you're going to try to layer a new belief over that. It doesn't work that way. You can't layer a new belief over an old one. You have to go into the neural network of your brain. Your brains are neuroplastic. Nerves that wire together fire together. That belief is there by neural connections in your nervous system. Just sitting under a Bodhi tree going Om and doing affirmations and vision boards isn't working. That doesn't work in that part of the brain. What you have to do is go, okay, this belief is going to limit me. What do I have to believe to be true? And then go and find why you had that limiting belief to begin with. It's there to keep you safe. Our brains are not wired to be happy. Our brains are wired for survival. That limiting belief is there to keep you in survival, period. Just that simple. Thank it first and then go, okay, getting to where I need to go. The same thing with sabotage. When you continually do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result, we call that insanity. But the sabotage that came from each one of those investments, by the way, got bigger and bigger. And I realized this is not a good financial plan. When I discovered that I not only had limiting beliefs, I had hidden beliefs, which we're going to address in a minute. I then realized from here, I need to rewire those neural connections. I need to create new neural pathways so it doesn't, my brain, my amygdala doesn't need that to survive. So I know it sounds a little bit bizarre, but our brains are wired for survival. So if a bear ran into this room right now, I'm not going to try to reason with it, go, look, I'm in my hippocampus right now. I'm in my happy camper part of the brain. You need to leave. It doesn't work like that. You're going to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn's not really talked about a lot. That is the rollover in defeat. And some people actually do that. Depression is rolling over. It's giving up. It's I'm defeated. So that's the first thing you need to do is identify your patterns of sabotage and limiting beliefs and understand it's there as part of your survival, but it's not going to get you to where you need to go in the financial picture. We need to move into your frontal cortex, your prefrontal cortex. That's where the rubber meets the road. But there's a lot of things we need to do before that. You're nodding. You're like, what?
Incredible. It's incredible. Just that nugget of understanding that the brain is not wired for happiness, it's wired for survival. And that explains so much just in that fact alone. Now, you mentioned that there are a few different parts of the brain, the happy
Mhm.
camper, hippocampus, and we've also talked about how lots of our decisions sometimes are made in the wrong parts of the brain in comparison to what we want the outcome to be. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So we discussed the amygdala, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, fear center part of the brain to get you to run when a bear comes into the room. That's a good thing. That's not where you invest from. So if you're getting into investing because you have run out of money, this is not a good pathway for you. Everyone underestimates the time it's going to take and they overestimate their talent. And so I did that on pretty much not all my deals, but I overestimated my gifting and my talent. Look, you're in the industry for 45 years. You think you may have something, right? And of course, that investment was about 7 years ago. We underestimate the time. Anybody hire a contractor, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, we can get it done in 3 weeks. They have this algorithm that they use. I don't know. I need to get a contractor calculator, some sort of slide rule to go, okay, add 10% minus. When you get into something out of fear, I'm running out of money, I need to do something, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be blind to the downsides. The same thing happens in the hippocampus. You do it out of fantasy, you're going to be blind to the downsides. You're only going to see the positives. When you move it into the prefrontal cortex, the medial prefrontal cortex, that is the part of the brain that is governed. That is the part of the brain where you see both drawbacks and benefits equal and to the same degree in the perfect hidden order in all things. And that's when you say, okay, the benefits of doing this deal are blank. The drawbacks to doing this are blank. And you see it and you understand it and you accept both sides of it. then you are governed. You need a little bit of emotion to create wealth, but you need a lot of governance to create wealth. You can't just go off and go throw it against the wall, hope it sticks. It works for a minute. I did it and I'm still here. But as a long-term wealth building strategy, you have to have governance in doing that. There are 3.5 steps to getting to that prefrontal cortex. The first one is living in your highest values. And there's a half step, your identity within those highest values. The second is creating a mission and living within in that mission. So my highest 3 values, I won't go through all 7 of mine, is the highest one is speaking, teaching, coaching. That's all one thing. And I do that all the time. I live, breathe, and have my being teaching, speaking, and coaching. Of course, on the neuroscience of building wealth. The second highest value is learning. No one has to tell me to go learn more to empower and inspire my people. And my third is health and fitness. No one has to tell me to go work out. I do it anyway. There really isn't anyone that needs to motivate me. I have had personal trainers in the past, and that's just for proper form, but not to say, hey, Darlene, come to the gym. I do it intrinsically. I'm inspired to do it. My identity around that is an empowered speaker, teacher, and coach that teaches others how to rewire trauma or root experiences so that they can build wealth. It's pretty much what my mission is and my identity. And the third thing is having a vision within that mission. The mission is what you give to people. The vision is what you get back. There has to be fair exchange. So when it's the be, do, have, who do I need to be? What do I need to do in order to get what I want? When you do those 3.5 steps and you know that you're going to do your purpose priority actions every day within those values, and you don't subordinate to the values of others, you learn to speak in their values to engage them, and you stay in that intrinsically inspired place, things are governed. You don't go off and get emotional. You don't go to FOMO. I never get the FOMO, the fear of missing out, because I know that I'm in my lane. I live it, breathe it, eat it, sleep it every single day. And that's the formula.
That is beautiful. Now, if someone's listening to this and they're like, you know what? I'm just trying to make it. I'm just trying to make some money in my business. I'm just trying, I don't even know who I am right now because I'm just trying to survive. What would you say to those people? How can they go about starting to unpack what are their highest values and how does that inform their identity?
Yeah, great question. I do a value assessment. Obviously, don't have time to do that right now. Hit me up. I can go ahead and walk you through that. The best thing to do if you're hand to mouth, and a lot of people are, they're scrambling. They feel this impending doom. There's a lot of going on in our economy and in our world. The first thing I would say is honestly unplug your TV. Best thing I ever did 6 years or 7 years ago. I only watch documentaries and YouTube. I watch Kendall because I love your show. I do things that I know are going to edify, inspire, and empower me. I don't need a motivational speaker because what I'm going to wind up doing is having to go through this dopamine burst by being motivated. Now, you guys have all been there, right? You go to conference and you get there and you get so motivated. The teachers that do it live with passion and you go and buy all their stuff and then you go home and you take the wrapper off. You don't do that anymore, but back in the day we had cassette tapes, guys. You take the wrapper off and you look at the workbook and you go, good, I'm going to do this. And you write all those goals out. You do vision boards and you do affirmations. And about 3 days later, that's really the truth about neuroscience, the dopamine starts wearing off. And then you go, I just spent all of this money. I knew what I was doing, but what was I thinking? And now you get into fear because your significant other said, I can't believe you did it again. You bought all these courses and now you're not following through. You did it because you feared of missing out. So there's only 2 fears. People say there's 7. I make things simple. So you have a fear of gaining something that you resent from the past, or you have a fear of losing something that you are addicted to now, addicted to, infatuated with, whatever word you want to use. Only two. It's the forward and the backward. When you bought it, you had a fantasy of your future because you feared losing money. And now you're addicted or attached to the money. And now you have the fear of losing it. It's that dog chasing its tail. That's when your nervous system goes haywire. Adrenaline starts releasing, cortisol starts raising up, and you're in that loop. Your heart starts pounding. We all have been there. Lose a great amount of money on a deal, and you can empathize. Oh no. So the ideal thing is to calm that nervous system down, go right into what are my highest values right now? What is my identity? What is my mission in life? Am I misaligned? Now, I'm not saying go quit your job. That's the worst thing that you can do. Have a plan, a strategic plan to say, I need this for now money, but my mission is to do this, and craft a mission statement, then a vision statement, then goals, then purpose statements within those goals. Unpack it slowly. When you're in your frontal cortex, it can only process in 10% increments. 10%. Don't try to 10x. Your brain and your nervous system, it's going to kick in your sympathetic nervous system. You're going to go hair on fire and implode. Don't try to crush it. Your brain and your nervous system aren't going to like that. Don't try to, what's the other one? Be fearless. You cannot be fearless. My analogy of the bear running in the room. You don't want to get rid of fear. You want to manage the fear by moving into the prefrontal cortex part of your brain.
Hey, land fans! Looking for your tribe of serious land investors? Join thousands of your fellow land lovers in the Only Land Fans Facebook group. We're talking real deals, expert strategies, and game-changing connections you won't find anywhere else. This isn't just another real estate group. This is the community where land investors come to level up. Join us at onlylandfansgroup.com and join the conversation today. That's onlylandfansgroup.com. See you there. Yeah, that is fascinating. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times unplugging that TV. And I have a suspicion from some of our earlier conversations that a lot of that is because of how it feeds different things about your fears and also may play a role in the subconscious. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, great. So 95% of your beliefs are in your subconscious. You think limiting beliefs were a tackle? Now you have to deal with 95% of those hidden beliefs. And hidden beliefs are in your subconscious. Some people ask, where's your subconscious located? Point to it. It's part of your limbic system. It's part of your amygdala and your hippocampus, hypothalamus, that part of the brain. They're lodged in there, and they're the ones that are driving the bus, the ones that are running the show. It's not the limiting ones. You already know what they're about. There's a formula to get rid of those. It's the hidden ones. We have to do a belief inventory, find out what they are. And then when you find out what they are, then you can rewire those, change the neural pathways, change those neuroassociations. And it even goes to a DNA level. So if you had a hidden belief, and I uncovered a bunch of them I didn't even know I had. So where does a belief come from? Most people think, okay, great, I have a hidden belief, but where did that belief come from? I'm going to take it all the way back to you need a perception that creates an identity, that creates an emotion, that creates a belief. Where do perceptions come from? Stimuli. So we have 17 senses, 5 of which we know: taste, touch, smell, the drill, those physical senses that we know. What are the other 12? I don't have time to go through all 12, but the senses that we had. So when you were created, when you were being carried around in your mother's womb, everything that your mom said and if the father was in the home, and if you had siblings that were born before you hear everything that they're saying. You're not in there just taking a nap, although you are, and we hear things even when we sleep, guys. So understand subliminal programming while you're sleeping. And back in the day, movies used to show Alicia is eating popcorn. So I'm gonna talk about this. Back in the day when you went to a theater, they would do fractions of a second of popcorn during the movie, and the people in the theater would go buy popcorn. That's called subliminal programming. And then people caught on to it and they were forbidden to use that. TV programming, although I'm not sure whether or not they do those subliminal things, every pharmaceutical ad is a subliminal suggestion that you need Ozempic or whatever that new drug is to lose weight. You don't. Just need to pull food out of your mouth and go exercise. That's a broad brush, guys. No offense to anyone who has an issue losing weight, but everything is a subconscious programming. So your first beliefs start with your parents and your siblings. And then your secondary, you go to school, and then you get the beliefs from the school system and your friends, and then their family's beliefs all merge. And then you get the beliefs of your religion, if you're in an organized religion or a disorganized religion. Then you get your beliefs, so your clergy, whoever that is, and the parishioners. Then you get your beliefs from TV, political parties, and it goes on and on. You get into a relationship. Now you get the culmination of all of their beliefs. So I always say we never have an original thought. It's just a hodgepodge of everyone else's beliefs. And those get pushed into our subconscious. If there is a trauma, at the moment of that trauma or root experience, there's a disassociation. Some clients don't even know what that trauma is. And after doing a belief inventory, we're able to excavate that trauma and then go in there and create new neural connections to give it a new framework for them.
Wow. Wow. So many variables that go into sort of shaping and crafting our beliefs. And you mentioned this belief inventory. If someone is brand new to this line of work and they want to start doing this on their own, figuring out what their hidden beliefs are, what would that process look like?
Yeah, great question. When I do a belief inventory with my clients, it's not just about money. At the end of the day, that's what they want to build wealth. But wealth, by the way, is health, money, and relationships. Wheel. It's the wholeness therein. It's not just the financial piece. Most people want financial peace, but I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money and their home life's a hot mess and their health is pitiful. So if you don't have the whole wheel and you only are making money and you're missing the others, you have to have a plan for that. So the belief inventory that I take them through is a real quick process. I will say a trigger word, a word for a lot of people. I start off with the word Porsche, and I'm looking at the faces, and some people are like recoiling and some people are leaning forward, depending on your belief around Porsche. I did this with one of my clients. She recoiled and almost left the chair. She had such a negative associations with a Porsche. And she went on a diatribe, but it's rapid. You're giving me rapid, write it down, don't think, whatever comes, let your pen write, your brain follows. And so all of the things, and then I have you grade them. More positives than negatives, more benefits than drawbacks. And there are times where people will look down and go, I wrote that. I didn't even realize that was part of my belief system. Those are the hidden beliefs that come and bubble up when you do the belief inventory. You could do it for yourself. Set a timer for 60 seconds and then just take a trigger word. Porsche, you can start off with Porsche. And if you write the word red, okay, red Porsche or accident. One guy wrote down broken neck, had an accident, wrote broken neck. And then he had some anger. So we then branched. He had some resentment toward the person who hit him, drunk driver. And we had to go ahead and rewire that. That resentment, what you resent, you resist. Resentment pushes money away. So if you have resentment toward things, it's a vibrational frequency, the opposite of money. So if you're pushing things away, you're not making money, look at what you're resenting. It's a calibration. I think resentment calibrates at 120, if I'm not mistaken. And so if you're calibrating, great book to read on calibration is Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. He talks about the vibrational scale, the calibration. He calls it calibration. We can call it vibrational frequency, whatever frequency you're at. Raising that frequency, and you can do that by staying in your highest values, being in your prefrontal cortex. It's not about looking at vision boards. It's not about doing Om and doing meditations under a Bodhi tree. That's not how you raise your frequency. Raising your frequency is coming to love and gratitude for those things that you thought were drawbacks, whether it's mega trauma or just you're pissed off at someone. Find the benefits. So when I did that for this money that I lost, I don't look at it as lost money. I look at it as an investment. That's all. It was an investment into my education of what I don't want to do again. So I now have a really robust checklist. And I just added another thing because I had another deal that went a little cockeyed. I didn't do proper due diligence. I let my guard down, and it's a work in progress. So love and gratitude are states of being, not emotions. I know we talked about emotions, and I'm going to get kicked back by going, wait a minute, Darlene, you said don't be emotional. Don't be, no, I love this and I'm so grateful. That's not it. It's a state of being. The states of being in love and gratitude means that you see the perfect hidden order. And I did. When I came to love and gratitude, I saw the perfect hidden order in that whole event about losing the money. I just saw the perfection in the whole thing.
Wow. Okay. So if someone is listening to this and they say, okay, love and gratitude, I got it. There are benefits to that. But are you talking about putting your brain in a frequency that's going to perform better? Or what's the benefit of being in love and gratitude? How does that manifest in like tangible, real life things?
Yeah, good. Love the question. So you're not only putting your brain in a frequency, your whole body is, everyone, we're just energy. We're just energetic beings. We vibrate, calibrate, whatever you want to call it. Everything is energy. This pen is energy. This paper is energy. They just vibrate and calibrate at different frequencies. That's all. We just see them as things, but they're just energy. So when you come to love and gratitude, not intellectualization about losing the money and going, okay, I'm grateful. When you shift, there's a shift that you'll feel when I work with my clients and I rewire them. They literally shift into that frequency of love and gratitude. There's either a tear, or they look up, or they go, oh, they have that physical movement in their energy. That's when I know that they've hit it. So our creator is love and gratitude. Everything is created out of love and gratitude. Why don't you just mimic our creator? You call him God or divine, or whatever you want to call him. That perfect love and gratitude is the perfect place of creation. First thing our creator said, if you're looking at the Christian literature, I believe in a lot of literature, it said, let there be light. That was the first thing that was allegedly created. Light does not mean the light I'm using on my face right now with this ring light that's fading. Light is information. That's what the word light translates to. So the very first thing our creator created was information, and everything stemmed from that. We are beings of light. We are information. If we're in a frequency of resentment, shame, guilt, condemnation, anger, we are calibrating below 200, and you cannot create from there. And you'll know that you're there when you say, I need to do this, I have to do this, I should do this, I got to do this, that you're not in an empowered and inspired state. When you get to say, I get to do this, I'm happy to do this, you're raising up in that frequency scale. But when you say, I love to do this, I'm inspired to do this, I'm intrinsically motivated or inspired to do it, you are calibrating in that frequency of creation. You can create from that place. Now, here's the disclaimer. You're not just going to go Bewitched or I Dream a Genie. I'm sure you guys have seen the reruns and create on a dime. You could, and no one says you can't. But for the most part, you still have to do the process steps. You still have to go, here's my mission, here's my vision, here's the goals within that mission, here are the priority action steps I need to take and the purpose steps, and know what your mission markers are. And when I take my clients through it, I take them through they have to do a 200-year goal. And so when you realize it's not about you anyway, when you get that far out and say what I'm doing impacts me and my family, my friends, my society, you go all the way out to the universe, then you realize I'm just a blip on the radar. And that's where you start with that. Wow, I can really create this.
That is powerful. Wow. Okay, so let's say someone is working towards being in the state of love and gratitude so they can be in a state of creation. What would you say to someone that says, what's the benefit of that? How is that going to move the needle in my bank account?
That's going to move the needle huge in your bank account. Remember when I went back to whatever you resist or whatever you resent, you're going to push money away and creation away. When you come to love and gratitude, you're not in that resisting framework anymore. You're now in the receiving framework. Everything, you're nodding your head. So if I would have resented this gentleman and the lost money, and I did, I stayed there for a couple of years. I stayed in that framework. It didn't create much in that time frame. I was pretty useless in that time frame. When I started doing this work and I rewired that, and rewiring, let me demystify the rewiring. It's a set of strategic questions done in the right syntax and order to have your brain create new neural connections. That's all. We're just creating new neural pathways. When our nerves fire together, they wire together. You're creating that in that space. So it's just rapid fire. When you see both sides, polarity. So we all want good, no bad, all happy, no sad, all up, no down. When you come to love and gratitude, you bring it right into balance and you see both sides simultaneously and the hidden order in all of it. That raises your frequency. Now you can start writing more inspired, you create more inspired and do more deals. When that actually happened, more deals started happening because I wasn't in that push and pull and anger and pushing things away. It evened out the nervous system. I went from a sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, depression, cortisol, to now a balanced nervous system of serotonin and parasympathetic nervous system, and stayed within that governed state to where you're flowing. You get in that zone of inspiration instead of the zone of desperation. That adds not only years to your life, but also more dollars in your bank account.
Listen up, land fans. This is huge. We're bringing you the one and only Pace Morby, star of A&E's Triple Digit Flip and the mastermind behind $450 million in real estate deals. He's coming to our virtual meetup on Thursday, December 5th to share how he's applying his creative financing genius to land deals. Head to olfmeetup.com to save your spot today. That's olfmeetup.com. This is the kind of opportunity that changes everything. If you're enjoying this episode of the Only Land Fans podcast, please let us know by subscribing and leaving a review. Now let's get back to the action. Wow. So this is not just operating from maybe like a law of attraction level where you are attracting certain opportunities. This is literally allowing you to see more opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities that do come along. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you for the law of attraction. I'm not the anti-law of attraction. They make it sound like you have to stay in this positive state all the time and all you have to do is visualize it. And I'm going to tell you, I know we've all tried it. We've all done the vision boards, but if you're doing that in an emotional framework, who said it best was Abraham Hicks said, go to the theater of your mind and listen to the music and visualize it. And you're exhausted by the time you're coming out because you're trying to raise your frequency. That is not how you raise a vibrational frequency, guys. That is the antithesis of doing it because you're in a state of wanting and needing. The minute you need something, what happens? If you want it, you chase something, it runs away. It's a simple formula. Stop chasing it. You can do the vision boards and the affirmations. Don't get me wrong. If you're trying to do affirmations over a hidden belief, I'm fit as a fiddle and I have big muscles or whatever, a big fat bank account, and your hidden beliefs are going BS because you don't even know they're there, it's all for naught. You're frustrating yourself. You really are. When you move into your highest values, mission, vision, and you're using the governed part of your brain and you see the drawbacks and benefits of anything that you're going to do, that is where vision boards and affirmations work. Your vision board should be about your highest values and your mission, not a vision board with, and I've done it, this stacks of cash and a big old boat and a house and a horse. I don't know. I had all kinds of stuff on there. And some of that, by the way, did come to pass. I was talking to my sister-in-law, Michelle, this weekend, and I said, some of the things I wrote down, they really did come to pass, but it was by the sweat of my brow, not by an inspired movement. So get in that inspired place. You don't have to do the theater of the mind and be all positive all the time. Trying to be positive, and I'm using this pen as the polarity, being positive all the time is going to be, you're going to attract negative at the same time. It's the law of the universe. If you know anything about chaos theory, the universe is always in chaos. And thermodynamics is always trying to bring it into balance. So a little real blurb on that. So if you want all happy and no sad, if you're seeking positive theater of the mind, there are no weeds in my garden, I'm happy. At the same time, what's going on? What is causing sadness? You're going to have to look for it. That was the part I talked about where it's hidden because you're deluded by this is going to be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And at the same time, something's going on that is going to prove you wrong. And it's happening simultaneously. If you're addicted to being happy, you better find the sad real quick. The universe is serving it up to bring you into balance. If you all want approval, rejection's happening at the same time to bring you into balance. You might as well find it now and come to love and gratitude for it so it doesn't smack you upside the face. So all of those overly polarized control, you're going to get controlled. If you're addicted to freedom, that's what we do when we get into this business. We want freedom. Go find where you're trapped. It's there. At the same time, equal and to the same degree. We see it. I'm going to get in. I'm going to have all the freedom. You better figure out all the trap. Find out what can trap you first. So then you have both eyes open and you see all of it at the same time.
Wow. And so once we find, let's say in that example, where we are being trapped, is then the next step to just have love and gratitude for it? Or what do we do in order to bring everything into balance?
Yeah. So find the drawbacks and benefits. So what I found in losing that money, I felt trapped. I just lost a boatload of money and it was self-directed Roth IRA tax-free money in my retirement. That was a double whammy. I was definitely bitter. What I did is I said, what are all the benefits to losing that money? And I had to find, about 150 of them. I had to do it until there was a shift. I don't want to find more benefits than drawbacks because then you have to tip it the other way. Because if you find more benefits than drawbacks, you're just going to go out and lose more money because you see more benefits than drawbacks doing it. There's the delicate balance. Find out what were the benefits to losing that money? And when I found all of them, I did have that tear of gratitude that I went, wow, look at my life now, right? Look at my life now. I am so grateful every day. But I don't want to get like too grateful because I don't want to like, oh, okay, this is the only way to get grateful is to lose money. Find the drawbacks and benefits before you get into something. That's the key. So you don't have to do it after the fact. If you're new into this business and you're getting into it because you hate your job, go find all the benefits to that job. Go find it like tonight. Say, what are the benefits of having this job right now? And then go find all of the drawbacks to getting into real estate investing. Let's balance that nervous system out a little bit. And that way you'll go, okay, the benefits to having a job is I get to put food in my mouth, a roof over my head, and I get to drive a car if it's that granular. And then find all the benefits to your boss. I know that's going to be fun, and all the coworkers. I told you this is going to be work. And then what are some of the drawbacks to getting into real estate investing? It's time consuming. You may not get your weekends. You've committed to doing this, blah, blah, blah. You told everybody and their brother. Now you have to save face, right? Go find the drawbacks to the business and the benefits to the business. Make sure they're equal and to the same degree. And then build a strategic plan to get there. What is your highest value? My highest value is speaking, teaching, coaching. It so happens to be my mission as well. So that made it easy. But in the beginning, did I just knock it out of the park with clients? No, I still do real estate investing, note investing, right? Sometimes we have to do things that are not in our highest value. So one of the things I just don't like doing is laundry. And so I don't know what it is about folding clothes. I have a basket of it sitting over there staring at me. So I could either hire somebody to come in and just do my laundry, or I could do it myself. And so you link a lower value into your highest value. My second highest value is learning. So when I do laundry, I turn on Kendall's podcast and I'm learning while I'm doing something that is not in my highest value. So those are cool little tricks that you can do to get you through your job. If your job is not your highest value, it's your lowest value, find out what your highest value is, link doing that job to your highest value. And do some action steps to do that. What do I get from that? I get the laundry done and it's not going to mount up. And then my housekeeper is going to go, gosh, do you not clean in between? So you do those linking exercises. That'll help you get through that job that you despise.
That is really cool. Really cool stuff. So we've talked about a wealth identity. Can you talk a little bit more about exactly what is that?
Yeah, good. So your wealth identity, let's talk about now that you know how to be in your governed part of your brain, your frontal cortex. That's the first part, by the way, of discovering your wealth identity is doing the values and then living within those values, the mission, the vision, and your priority steps. But most people stop there. They say, okay, great. So where's my identity? The second thing that I do, so I couple all of those together, is I have you do a financial survival number. So you need to know in the morning when I wake you up, 2:30 in the morning, I should be able to call you and say, what's your financial independence number? But in the beginning, what is your financial survival number? Your financial survival number is what you need to make in order for you to live indoors. I know a lot of us have gotten used to living indoors. It's the part where you're surviving. That's not wealth, right? That's not creating wealth. That's surviving. Getting into real estate, land investing, you did it because you wanted a certain amount of wealth along the way. What you need to do is find out what your burn rate is. What do I need to make every month to get by? Remember, I talked about the 10%. You're going to then add 10% to that. You cannot transcend what you can't govern. If you won the lotto today, let's make math simple, $5 million, not a lot of money, but $5 million is a lot of money to some of you. And you've not been able to manage 50 grand I promise you that $5 million will be frittered away. Look at any lotto winner. I had a client who was a lotto winner. His name was Chuck Norris. I know it's not the Chuck Norris, but his name was Chuck Norris. He won. He didn't win. He got $1 million settlement because his father was killed in an ambush. He drove an armored car. And so Chuck got $1 million settlement, which was tax-free. In that kind of arena, you don't pay tax on that. And his house, this is 1 year later, his house was in foreclosure. They were towing his truck away. His mother's house was in foreclosure because he borrowed money from her. In 1 year, he frittered it all away. Your brain and nervous system can't comprehend any of that. Now, there are some lotto winners who have done good. Look at a lot of your sports figures. They're making boatloads of money and they're just frittering it away because they don't have governance at all. So you have to be able to govern what you can't manage, you can't transcend, and you can't transcend what you can't manage. So learn to manage the small things now. At least get that energetic frequency calibration of managing 10% more. And then you make another goal for 10% more. That gets you in that governance framework, and then create a financial independence number. Now, there's a calculator. I do it. I have my students do it longhand because if they do it, it's very real to them. If I do it for them on a quick online calculator that I created, they're like, nah. But when they put a pen to it and they figure out their their financial independence number is FIN, they now know that they need to raise their identity a smidge. For a lot of people, it's more than a smidge. Because if I wake you up at 2:30 in the morning, Kendall, and I say, what's your FIN? I need to know what your FIN is to the penny and your plan to do it. So raising your wealth identity is taking you through the 3 parts of your brain. Your amygdala first, create a protection. It's used for protection. So I know if you're in that part of the brain, we're going to use some protection methods. We're going to put systems in place for you to have a rainy day fund. I recommend to my clients 6 to 9 months of a rainy day fund, and then put that in a high yield savings account. UFPB is where I have them put it. They give 5.15% interest. Certainly better than putting it in a CD. You want to have that in a liquid account. That way, if there's an emergency, you can pull it out. Then, and there are other protection methods that I do. Then I take you through the hippocampus part of the brain, and that's your security part of the brain, your systems and your strategies. So this is where you're going to start creating systems to increase your wealth, maybe entities that you might use, trusts for asset protection it's not a total asset protection vehicle, but to avoid probate. You're forward thinking, you're raising that identity, your wealth identity there. And then in your frontal cortex, this is where abundance and synchronicity start taking place. You're not running hair on fire because you're not in your amygdala anymore. We solved that equation. You're not in your happy camper part of the brain looking at shiny objects. We've solved that equation. You're now in your governed part of your brain, and that's where synchronicities start to happen. You're going to meet people. You're going to get deals. Things are going to start to flow. They can't flow if you're back in the survival part. You're being chased by a bear all day long. That is not the time to build wealth. It is not the time for rest and digest. That is the time to run. So giving your nervous system and your brain time to calm down so that you can use the different parts of your brain to get through those different parts of investing.
That is brilliant. Brilliant. So good. And if someone wants to try to calculate their financial independence number on their own, what can they do? What types of exercises do you bring those types of people through?
Yeah, so I do a longhand thing. I wish I had it in front of me because I could just ramble it off. There is a calculator that you can use. It's best retirement calculator. You put in, and it's not an exact science. You're going to miss it by a couple million if you do it this way. I've gotten to the point where I know your age. You can tell me what you have in investments, and I can calculate it in my head because I've just done it so many times. But what it doesn't calculate accurately are taxes. So it is misleading from that aspect. So it's your age, how many years you want to live, when you want to retire. And I don't like that word retire, because when you retire, you expire. If you're living in your highest values and you have a mission, I never want to retire. I love what I'm doing. What you have currently in savings, what your investments are yielding, what your tax bracket is, what your income is, and a percentage of your increase. So it's an exact science. So when I talk you through it, I go, okay, you are making $120,000 a year. You're going to get a 3% increase, but inflation is at 6. Then we need to do this with your money in order for you to get a hedge against inflation. So reach out to me. I'll walk you through the calculator. It's so much easier. Best retirement just doesn't do it. It'll miss it by a long shot, actually.
Wow. Wow. That's really great. So, can you talk a little bit about some daily practices, maybe some maintenance exercises that we can all do to check in to make sure that we are operating at the highest frequency that we possibly can? We're getting out of some of these, have a bad day. Oh my gosh, I'm spiraling now. So, can you walk us through what are some of those daily maintenance activities that we can be doing?
Hey, I get it too, guys. It's not happy camper all the time. Actually, it's not. I do walk around in a gratitude bubble, though. I do look at everything is happening for me, not
Mm.
against me. And if you can just look at that, look for the perfect hidden order. It's always hidden, unfortunately, but it's always perfect. And so when I look at the chain of events that took place in pretty much everything that I'm doing, I can look back and go, or I can look forward and go, okay, this is happening. What is it protecting me from? Instead of going into a pity party and carrying on and getting all emotional about it, you are activating the wrong part of your nervous system when you're doing that. You're not going to be governed. Get into that governed state, sit down, stop what you're doing, and go, what are the benefits right now to what is happening around me? I got a flat tire. What are the benefits? It could have protected me from an accident further up the road. I could, I, you might meet the love of your life changing your tire. Who knows what it is? Go look for the benefits in that moment. The minute you break down, go, okay, what are the benefits right now to me breaking down in this car? It could be this, it could be this. Some of it's going to be speculation, guys. It gives me a chance to really be grateful. It might be the most simple thing. Go through 50 benefits right then and there. And in order to get through the benefits real quick, I have a little hack for that. So when you're doing a benefit to anything, I broke down, okay, what is the benefit to that? Find the primary benefit. Breaking down, it allowed me to take a break because I was in a hurry. It probably precluded an accident. What's the benefit to that? So you're going to go primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. So the primary benefit of breaking down or getting a flat tire is I probably avoided something up further upstream that might not see. What's the benefit to that? It gives me a chance to sit down and take a break to find out maybe I should have checked the tires before I left. What's the benefit to relaxing and staying in that governed state? I will know next time that I'm going to check the tires before I leave. And what's the benefit to that? It goes on the checklist. And true story, I do check my tires almost every time I leave because I had 2 flat tires in the same day. They were doing work here at the condo. And when I pulled out, I got 2 nails in the tires. And the benefit is it happened before I live in Florida, before I hit Alligator Alley. Had those tires flattened while I was on Alligator Alley, the drawback would have been huge because it was a hot day. I would have been in that sweltering hot car. So I was super grateful it happened before I hit it. Look for the benefits in everything. If you see you're way off in benefits, remember, go find some drawbacks too. This is not always just finding drawbacks or benefits to the bad. Go find the drawbacks to what you seem to be good. And that'll knock
Oh,
dust off of that.
oh, that's so good. Uh,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this question. If someone's listening to this and they say, you know what? I'm doing all of the things that I know
Hmm.
that I should be doing in my business. I'm checking all the boxes. It looks like I'm doing the exact same thing that my colleagues are doing. I'm doing this marketing campaign, same area, same mail piece. It just feels like the deals aren't coming. Is there typically something that they are doing or have wired in their mindset that could be preventing them from experiencing the outcome that they want? And what does that typically look like?
Yeah. A lot of it is fear. They may not be in a place where they feel confident to get on the phone to ask the right questions. So it's not the list, right? You can give that same list to two different people. One can knock it out of the park and the other one is struggling. It could be your technique, your style, your delivery, your clothes, but it also could be a hidden belief. We're going to go right back there that is precluding you from moving forward. You may have a hidden belief that somebody might have said, you're ripping them off. I've had people say that. Don't you feel bad when you wholesale? You aren't you ripping them off? Now, I could have taken that in a belief and sloughed that off. I immediately went, no, I know that I'm bringing that person value. But if you internalize that now and that becomes part of your neural network, you're going to push that away. I promise you. It may be a belief that's holding you back. It's not the list. It's never the list. It could be a bad list, but if you're using Alicia, it's not the list. It it could be technique, but it could also be an internal framework work. She's bowing. An internal framework that money is evil. When I do the belief inventory, I'll say a few key words. And I get a lot of people who have a religious background where money is evil, the root of all evil. The book never said that, guys. The love of money is the root of all evil. Or they have had a parent or a grandparent that, they were all about making money and never spent time with them. I have a couple of clients like that, that they resent money because their father worked all the time and didn't spend time with them. So they equate making money with their dad, not, and you think, no, that doesn't happen. Your brain and nervous system, whatever trauma age you had the trauma, whatever age you were, is where you stop growing. So if you had a root experience, a trauma at the age of 6, and it's still there, because there was a disassociation that is now a trauma, and now you're going to go out into the world and make money, your nervous system and brain are at 6 years old in that basic state. You may not feel it, you may not see it, you may not know it, but the body keeps score, which, by the way, is a great book for anyone by Bessel van der Kolk. You can intellectualize a root experience all day long and say, okay, I have love and gratitude. But if you have not truly come to the state of love and gratitude, your neural network and your body, every cell of your being remembers that trauma. When you rewire it, it breaks the charge off of that as well. And so Bessel does an amazing job on how trauma actually lives, not only in your nervous system, in your brain, but also in every cell fiber of your being. You got to yank that stuff out. You have to recreate the story in order for you to move forward. So if you guys are struggling with making calls and not getting anywhere, and now you're getting into that place, I think I'm going to quit, and I'm getting all down in the mouth about it, it could be a root experience that's holding you back. Reach out. Let's work on that. Let's excavate that and get that thing rewired.
Oh, wow. Now, you've mentioned before in some of our conversations prior to this that there's actually something that's positive trauma. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that blew me away when I learned that it's not always just this negative experience that turns into trauma. It can also be a positive type of trauma. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, turn on social media and look at the Kardashians and all of the other socialites. Positive trauma is anything more benefits to than drawbacks at that time. So I'm going to use a client, a valedictorian. She was an only child. The sun rose and set upon her. She got everything that she wanted. She went off to school. I think she was also the valedictorian of her college. And everyone catered to her every whim because she was beautiful and perfect and the homecoming queen. And then she got out into the workforce. And they didn't think she was all that in a bag of chips like she did. And she actually had to work. Wait, don't you know who I am? So that positive trauma is now giving her a fit in real life. She expected the world to cater to her because she had root experiences around being adored and loved and cherished and got a pony. And now her boss is asking for a cup of coffee. She says, I thought you were bringing me the coffee. It doesn't. So there are incidences if you are seeing more benefits than drawbacks, and you're on social media and you see all these people that they have all these wonderful lives and people are catering to them. Now that trauma has to have them get the next filler and the next implant and the next procedure. And the newest thing is having leeches on your body suck out all the impurities because everyone is going, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. They have to maintain that image. That's positive trauma.
Wow. Wow. That's still just mind-blowing to me. So let me ask, Darlene, if someone is trying to do this work, obviously they can work with you. If they're trying to dip their toes into this and figure out how they can rewire, can you quickly go over that process one more time
Yeah.
about I find a hidden belief, how do I rewire my brain around that, or how do I rewire some trauma?
Yeah. So I'm going to go to a hidden belief around, I'll just do the one that I just did with dad worked all the time. This is not my case, by the way. Dad worked all the time. And although we had all of the trappings that a child could want and drove the finest luxury cars and had the clothing, now that person resents their father because they didn't spend time. So I'm going to pick it up there. They found a hidden belief that they equated making money with not being able to spend time. Their dad didn't spend time. So there's a hidden belief there. So they will sabotage. Remember, neural connections. Sabotage is just keeping you safe. That's all. Sabotage is keeping you safe to say, don't go there, because if you go there, bad things will happen because dad's going to go off and go to work and you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get his attention. When you identify that, now you can go and say, what were the benefits to dad going off and not spending time with me? Okay, one of the benefits could be that I get to spend more time with my mom and we created an incredible relationship. I didn't have to go on boring trips with dad fishing because that was his favorite pastime. And I didn't like to fish. I didn't have to go to socialite parties. And I'm actually giving you a case of a student of mine, by the way. I didn't have to go to socialite parties because my dad never had time to do it. My mom hated them. So we didn't have to go and dress the belle of the ball, the life of the party. I didn't have to go find all of those benefits to not having that time with your dad. It had zero to do with making money. You equated now going out and making money because your dad did it and you were angry with him. When you come to love and gratitude for the fact that your dad did that because he left you alone and you were able to solidify relationship with friends and you were on the ski team and you did all those other things, you're going to come to love and gratitude and say there were more benefits or equal amount to the same degree of benefits than drawbacks. Come into love and gratitude for that. You have broken that charge off. As long as you do come to love and gratitude, not intellectualization. Say, yeah, I understand. It did give me a chance to be with mom more. I got to play with my siblings more. I didn't have to go hunting or fishing. You have to really come to love and gratitude. And sometimes it's a little bit of a prompting thing. You can get yourself there.
Wow, that was so helpful. Thank you for that. Final question around the brain.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you were a musician, and that, so I'm very sure that you're extremely familiar with performing and like performance anxieties. And so how would you coach someone who has that inner saboteur, that anytime they're about to do something, they hear that voice in their head that says, you're not going to be good at that, the brain trying to keep them safe? How do we handle, or how should we handle those types of inner saboteur types of comments and experiences?
Yeah, I love that inner saboteur. Like you pulled the card. I am the saboteur. Remember, sabotage is just keeping you safe. Obviously, if you want to move forward for that. And I'm going to tell you about my rewire experience about teaching, speaking, and coaching. So I'll give you that straight out the gate. When I was little, I had every reason to believe that I was dumb. There were confirming cases of that. My parents didn't think I was particularly bright. And all I wanted to do was really sing and be silly and act. And so my nickname from my dad was Looney Tunes. And if that is saying you're not a Mensa, being called Looney Tunes is confirmation bias that I wasn't exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer. And so I remember not feeling internally bright. And a teacher confirmed that, asked a question. I raised my hand and I got laughed at because I answered the question and it was my fifth grade teacher, fourth grade teacher, laughed at me. And so I would never raise my hand again because I felt stupid. And so everything that I did confirmed that I was stupid. And so fast forward to now getting my real estate license when I was 19. All I want to do is speak, teach, and coach, or speak and sing, not speak and teach and coach. Recognize the fact, though, entertaining is also teaching. So the corollary there is I get to teach, which is being on the stage and doing what I love anyway. So I did not want to get a job. I did not want to go to school. I barely passed. And my sister drags me into a real estate school. I thought my parents put her up to it to say, do something with your sister. Otherwise, she's just going to run off with a band. And so a few months ago, sitting here in my living room, she said, no, that wasn't the case at all. I saw a sale of a buy one, get one free education class on how to get your license. She couldn't pass up a sale. She dragged me into it. And my mom was mad. She said, you're setting your sister up for failure. She's not smart enough to take that test. And so my sister spent copious amounts of time beating it into my brain, and I wound up passing the test. But when I got into real estate, I really did like it. And I transferred that. And I did wind up getting to be a musician at the same time, too. So I got both loves. But being in front of a client, I got to teach them about foreclosure process because that's what I did mainly. And by the way, I did it because I went into foreclosure. Isn't that a perfect gift? I did
Wow.
foreclosure work prior to that, but then I found myself in foreclosure and I had intimate understanding of the process. And I was able to then work with my clients from that framework. And then I started doing things with creative entities. And I realized I'm actually smart. And so what they thought of me was just their misinterpretation based on their perceptions. They saw this silly Looney Tunes little girl not being incredibly bright, but being a musician, you have to have some sort of brightness about you. I just
Absolutely.
carried it in a different way. My highest value was being an artist, not going and having a job, just over broke, as most people call it. And so that's why having your values, by the way, guys, is super important. Getting that knocked out first. That way, every day when I get up, I'm living within my highest values. I'm not going to subordinate to the values of others. I will have to do things I don't like to do. Just link them to your highest value. That is the best way to explain it. Stay in your lane, stay in your highest values, understand your identity, mission, vision, statement, a strategic plan to get there, know what your burn rate is, find out what your financial identity number is, come to love and gratitude, even for the crap that's thrown at you, and don't get overly polarized on one side. Happy camper, no. Even keel, yes. Be balanced in your nervous system. If you get too far off and you get that dopamine bumping, you're going to have to bring it down as soon as you realize you're gleeful, you're elated. I'm not saying you can't be happy, but when you get into elation, on the other end of elation is depression. That's the opposite of elation, is depression. So if you get totally elated, recognize depression is being hidden right now. Chaos, bringing it into balance.
Fabulous. So good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Darlene, I want to thank you for being so generous with your time and your experience. How can we give back to you right now? What resources or connections are you currently looking for?
You know what? If you guys want to ask me questions, that's giving back because that's in my highest value, right? Thank you for allowing me to stay in my highest value. That's what I do. I love doing what I do. If you want to reach out, I'll be more than happy to take the conversation further and see what path I can lead you down.
Wonderful. So, how can people contact you if they want to get in touch with you?
Real simple, darleneroot.com.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Darlene, I want to thank you so much. We'll be putting that address into the show notes there. And just this has been incredibly just informative and enlightening, and I got so much value out of it myself. Thanks so much. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Darlene, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Okay.
This has been enlightening to say the least. So I cannot wait to go back and listen to the recording of this because there's so many nuggets in there. Thank you guys for joining us, Darlene. Again, just I am so thankful for you. All right,
Hey,
you guys,
let's do it again.
absolutely. Anytime you name it, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Okay. All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great week. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye. If you're interested in hearing from other seven-figure land flippers about how they've started and run their businesses, then join us at onlylandfans.com. Looking forward to seeing you there.